Hello, my name is Shara Savage, a program consultant in the Office of Assessment and Accountability, or OAA. Today we will be covering the Administration Code Regulations Training 703 KAR 5080. Each section is broken down into 6 training modules. Please ensure to review all 6 modules for the complete training. During Module 1, we will cover the introduction of the Administration Code. This includes training protocols, test security, rationale, test preparation or test prep, the inclusions of special populations, and the alternate assessment. The support materials that you receive include Administration Code for Kentucky's Educational Assessment Program, this PowerPoint, and the training videos. Please note the page number at the top of the PowerPoint slide or referenced within the slide throughout the presentation is where the information can be found in the regulation. So what is the rationale behind the Administration Code? Professional ethics, educational defensibility, and student ownership are the standards used in determining appropriate practices. Any test preparation practice must be done in a manner that will impact instruction and benefits student learning. Actions taken by anyone involved with test administration shall be done to benefit students' overall learning and not to solely gain a testing advantage. The assessments are designed for students to demonstrate their understanding. Inappropriate assessment can lead to invalid and unreliable test results, impacting students, parents, schools, and communities. Now let's take a look at test security. KDE employs various data forensic techniques as part of its test monitoring process. The purpose is to examine inconsistencies that could indicate wrongdoing and investigate as needed. The investigation could be used to exonerate individuals suspected or accused of misconduct. Some discoveries of inappropriate practices can be cheat sheets, adults changing student answers, receiving help, or verbal cues from administrators. Each year, staff from OAA visit schools during the testing window. The visits are announced to the District Assessment Coordinator, the DAC, shortly before the team arrives at the school building. Sites are chosen both purposeful and random selection. OAA staff will interview school and district staff and request to see storage and testing areas. Certain documents are also collected at the time of the visit. Any situation that violates the Administration Code or the Inclusions of Special Populations regulation is reported as an allegation. Allegations are investigated by KDE staff. The investigations require documentation of the incident to be submitted and can include additional school visits and interviews with those involved. Let's take a look at appropriate instruction and test simulation practices. What is considered acceptable instructional practice? Concepts appropriate for curriculum instruction can be found in Kentucky Academic Standards. Other regulations applying to curriculum, instruction, reward funding, etc. When planning activities tied to assessment, refer to the regulation. Reviews are part of standard instruction. Continuing this type of instruction during the test window is expected and should be reflected in lesson plans. Reflections in the lesson plans will serve as evidence of ongoing instruction should there be questions about the review's timing. Employment outside of the school day is a teacher's choice. Examples of outside employment may be individual student tutoring paid for by parents, ACT National Administration, Sullivan Learning Centers, etc. Please note, teachers and other staff shall not be required to conduct test preparation activities instead of regular classroom instruction and shall not be required to conduct test prep activities outside the typical workday. Please see page 13 of the Administration Code regulation. Test simulation practices are allowed under certain circumstances. Activities related to testing preparation should be planned to improve student learning, including analyzing student results, student feedback, and advanced instruction. Events for the sole purpose of raising test scores or practice with no feedback are not acceptable. Testing activities that provide feedback that can benefit students' learning are permitted and encouraged. Students should be familiar with using test-taking strategies for assessments such as those used in the classroom, direct formative assessments, etc., not just for the use on state-required assessments. Test prep courses, whether developed by teachers, districts, or commercially bought products, are acceptable as long as the results are used to identify students' strengths and weaknesses and guide instruction. Best practice alert. Benchmark testing is acceptable. However, it should not be used to increase scores artificially. For example, it is inappropriate for the Brigands in preschool to be used repeatedly to improve readiness scores. Beginning on page 16 of the regulation, it touches on the inclusions of special populations regulation and the alternate assessment. If you provide accommodations, you will also need to be trained in the inclusions of special populations training. Annual training is essential for staff to understand their role in providing accommodations and meeting regulatory requirements. Accommodations are intended to allow students with disabilities access to the curriculum and assessments at the same level as general education students. The purpose of the accommodation is not to provide an advantage or ensure proficient scores. A violation of the Administration Code does not necessarily violate the inclusions of special populations regulation. What is the alternate assessment program? The alternate assessment program is for students with the most severe cognitive disabilities. Only a student who meets all the eligibility requirements for the alternate assessment program may participate. Eligible students shall be identified through the Admissions and Release Committee process. Intervention related to the alternate assessments should not diminish student ownership, but rather aid in the student exhibiting his or her knowledge and skills. Accommodations must be on the student's IEP, 504, or PSP, and the student should be accustomed to their use. Altering student results for any reason is considered a violation. Neither students nor adults may continue working with test materials after the alternate assessment test window deadline. Is there additional training required? Yes. Additional training is required for those administering alternate assessments. The other trainings can be found on the KDE webpage. This is our first check for understanding. The quizzes encompass the materials we just covered. I'll give you a few minutes to read through these yes or no questions, and then we will discuss the answers. Okay, is it acceptable to do scrimmages or test prep activities? Yes, it is acceptable if feedback is provided to enhance student learning. Scrimmages, content review, and benchmark testing types of activities are acceptable if the results are used to guide further instruction and to identify and improve areas of student weakness. Number 2, is it acceptable to do content review prior to testing? Yes, it is acceptable if it is part of an ongoing instructional practice. Regular review of the content as part of the ongoing year-long instructional practice is encouraged. Number 3, are site visits during testing only chosen randomly by OAA? No. OAA site visits are selected both randomly and purposefully. This concludes Module 1 of 6 of the Administration Code Regulation Training. Please review all 6 modules to complete the Administration Code training. If you have questions, please contact us at KDE-information, DACinfo@education.ky.gov, or give us a call at 502-564-4394. Thank you for participating in this section of the training with the Office Assessment and Accountability.